Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I will be doing the Vinyl Tag 2023. Now I haven't done a vinyl community video in a long time, and I saw a video pop up on my recommended of someone doing this tag, so I decided, you know what, that's going to be today's video because it's a fun one and I just love going through my collection and finding these records, because then I can remember what I actually have in my collection. And usually after I finish filming, I'll probably listen to a couple of the records that I've picked in this video that I haven't listened to in, I don't know, a few months or so. So it's a very fun little game, and it's not a video to take seriously, it's just fun. And yeah, anyway, today's record of the day, Riser by German metal band Rammstein. Now I go on about Rammstein a lot, and if I were to recommend an album to anyone, it would probably be this one. This one has the most variety on it. It takes a step from their previous 3 records. It's a lot more operatic, it's a lot more grand, there's a lot more kind of interesting songwriting, and it's just an amazing album. Great musicianship, just great songwriting all around, and I do recommend this one a lot. So this is Riser by Rammstein. And now let's get on with the video. Whoop whoop. So I've actually filmed this video once before and I didn't like the take that I did because I was speaking so quickly. So I'm now going to talk a bit slower and take my time with each pick. Obviously I'm not going to spend hours on each one because a lot of these albums I've already spoken about before in previous videos. Let's go on with number 1. My favourite release of 2022, which was last year, if you didn't already know. Now, there were quite a few great albums that were released last year. A lot of them I don't actually own on vinyl, and as good as some of these records were, none of them could hold a candle to this record here, and gonna mention them again. This is Zeit by Rammstein. This is their most recent album, which came out in 2022. Obviously, and out of all the albums that came out last year that I did listen to, this one was my favourite. Not trying to be biased or anything, but in terms of songwriting and, you know, incorporating more of the electronic side into their music, I was very much intrigued with this record. As I said, out of all the records that were released last year that I did listen to, a lot of them had flaws to them that I really couldn't get out of my head. For example, I did quite enjoy the Korn EP that was released last year, Requiem, but I probably wouldn't buy it on vinyl just because I didn't enjoy it enough. But this one was an immediate purchase as soon as I listened to it. So this is Zeit by Rammstein. The last band or artist that I saw live. As I'm recording this video right now, I'm actually going to a concert tonight, but obviously I haven't been to that concert yet. The last band I saw was last week, and it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and this was my second time seeing them, and they were absolutely amazing. This time I was actually in the crowd, I was standing, whereas last time I was seated, and I really felt the vibe a lot more standing. I was a lot closer. I just really got more into it, and it was a fantastic concert. We all had a great time, me and Johan. I chose this album to show because it's their latest one. Really great record, this one. Their first album was their best album. Now this was a very tricky one because to me first albums are very hit or miss. They're either extremely good or they just don't really hold up, and I think there's more on the doesn't really hold up side of it. And it took me, as I said, it took me a long time to actually pick an album because I was going through all the bands that I love and I was like, no, that's not my favourite album, it's not my favourite, you know. So I decided to go with Alanis Morissette's first record, Jagged Little Pill, which is also probably her most well-known record. It's one of the biggest selling albums of all time and probably one of my favourite albums at the moment, at least. This album got me through last year quite a lot when I was kind of dealing with the kind of crappier parts of my job, and it's just a fantastic record all around, and it's just, yeah, beautifully written, and the execution is just fantastic. So yeah, this is Jagged Little Pill. Hat trick, show the vinyl, CD and cassette of an album. I don't collect cassettes, I don't own any cassettes, weirdly. I've just never been interested in collecting cassettes. I don't have a medium to play them on, so I just thought I'm not gonna I'm not going to bother with cassettes, but I can show you a CD and a vinyl. So I went with The Fragile by 9 Inch Nails. This is the CD and this is the vinyl. And the reason I picked this one is because I'm very, very proud of myself for finding The Fragile on vinyl. This one was quite hard to track down, and I'm very happy that I did track it down for a price, obviously, but it was so worth it because the album is just fantastic. So Fragile by 9 Inch Nails. An album that starts and ends with the same letter. I noticed with this vinyl tag, there's a lot of really tricky prompts that had me sitting here for like a good few minutes to actually figure out what I wanted to pick. And I was going through my collection, I was like, I can't find one. So I kind of cheated a little bit and I went with the self-titled ABBA record. I mean, it starts with A and ends with A. An album that was born in the same year as me. I was going to pick the Chili Peppers again, but I thought I would not like to really have that many repeats in this video. So I went with In Absentia by Porcupine Tree, which came out in 2002. This is another really great record, and if you don't know Porcupine Tree, then you should definitely go and listen to them. Although I assume everyone who's watching this video probably knows who they are anyway. So I'm not going to bore you with the next two because the answer is very plain and simple. So I'm going to lump the 2 points together. So it was most listened to album of 2022 and most listened artist of 2022. So my most listened album last year was Zeit by Rammstein and my most listened artist was Rammstein. So I'm not going to fool around and go on to another tangent about Rammstein when you already know my thoughts and feelings on them. But yeah, that got through that point very quickly. An Australian band / artist, I went with Tame Impala. I was going to go with Parkway Drive, who are an Australian metal band, but I don't actually own any of their albums anymore. So I decided to just pick Tame Impala. This is his album, Lonerism, and this is some really fantastic music. It's neo-psychedelia, and if you like, well, psychedelic rock or just psychedelic music in general, and you haven't checked out Tame Impala, this is one to check out because his albums are very, very good and there's some very interesting ideas and songwriting on them. A surprising purchase of 2022. So this one surprised me because I heard the title track from this album last year and I think it was Yoan that played it to me, and I thought, this is such a good song, I'm gonna go and listen to the album. I went and listened to the album and I bought it straight away afterwards. I think I've talked about this a little bit on the channel before, but I am of course talking about Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish, who is probably one of the most popular artists as of right now. So I heard the track Happier Than Ever, which is a fantastic song with a lot of emotion and a lot of raw energy. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and listen to the rest of the album because I really enjoyed that track and I just ended up really enjoying the album. There's some really, really beautiful moments on this album that I think a lot of people who are very like, I don't want to listen to mainstream music are missing out on. So I do recommend this one to you guys, and I'm probably going to get a lot of angry people out there being like, I'm going to unsubscribe because you like mainstream music, but if it's good, it's good. So this is Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish. Band or artist that I have the complete collection of. That one was very, very easy for me because I just had to look in the middle of my shelf. Pink Floyd. I have every Pink Floyd album on vinyl, and I picked this one out because it's my favourite of theirs and it's just my favourite album ever. So yeah, I have every Pink Floyd album, including the live ones. I've got Pulse, I've got Delicate Sound of Thunder, I've got, you know, Relics as well. So I've got like all the other albums and stuff. So yeah, Pink Floyd, one of my favourite bands. So I used to be a bit of a completist, but I just kind of thought, why should I buy albums of a band that I don't like? Just wasted my money. But I like all the Pink Floyd records enough to get each one. A great run of 3 albums. So this one was very interesting, and this was the first one that came into mind, and I haven't listened to these records in well over a year, so kind of interesting that this was the first one I picked. And that was these 3 iconic Genesis records. So we have Nursery Crime, we've got Foxtrot, and of course Selling England by the Pound. Each one, they just get better and better as you listen to them, and they are just absolutely fantastic records. It's 3 in a row. They produced 3 albums in a row, which was absolutely insane. An 80s soundtrack. I am not able to show you guys an album for this category just because I don't actually buy soundtracks very often. I'm very picky about when it comes to soundtracks, so I cannot show you one for now. The only soundtrack I think I own that I can think of is Pulp Fiction that came out in the 90s, so no album for this one. We lost them in 2022, so basically showing an album of an artist who passed away last year, and my pick is for Christine McVie. So Fleetwood Mac Rumours. It was very, very tragic that we lost her last year. What an amazing songwriter, particularly on this album as well. She's a fantastic musician as well. So yeah, rest in peace. This is an absolute classic album, and she will be very sorely missed and remembered for her great musicianship and legacy she left behind. A disappointing purchase of 2022. I don't know why I said purchase like that. I'm sorry. So this one has a story attached to it. So this band have not really released any of their music officially on vinyl. The only kind of ones you can get are bootlegged. So when they came out with this particular set, it was a big deal for me because they are my favorite band. You may or may not know who I'm talking about, I don't know. But unfortunately the quality of the album is not as much as it lived up to be, and certainly wasn't, it did not match the price that we paid for it. So I am of course talking about Fear Inoculum by Tool. Now Tool are my favourite band of all time, and this album is absolutely brilliant. But this particular pressing is a little bit disappointing just because it doesn't sound as good as I hoped it would be. You know, they've spread all the music out onto like 3 or 4 discs, so I was kind of excited because they've given more space for the music to sound better, but unfortunately it doesn't sound that great in comparison to the release they released afterwards, because they did do a proper like a vinyl copy, like with a gatefold and stuff, and that one, we did get that one as well, and it just sounded a lot better. But this one doesn't sound terrible, but it could have sounded a lot better. So that is probably the most disappointing one. I just couldn't think of another one. A non-vinyl purchase. So I'm just going to show a random one that I got kind of recently, and that is a $3 Bill Y'all by Limp Bizkit. I don't actually own any Limp Bizkit records because they are extremely difficult to track down. They are stupid expensive because they haven't actually really reissued them, and when they did reissue them, they sold out so quickly. So yeah, it's Limp Bizkit. I love Limp Bizkit. I found a Grail. So this is one I got, I don't think I did get it last year. It could have been the year before. But I was super excited to get this one because this is very, very difficult to find, and if you do find it, it's usually at a cost. You got to sell your soul to get this one, but we found it for a pretty decent price, as decent as you could get, and it was probably the cheapest out of all of the copies that were online. And I am of course talking about this particular copy of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness by the Smashing Pumpkins. This album is weirdly difficult to find. I've not found a vinyl copy that's just in regular kind of gatefold or just like cardboard sleeve form. I've only ever seen it in box set form, which was frustrating because when I really wanted to buy it, I had to kind of sell my soul to buy it. It was very, very expensive, but it sounds absolutely amazing. It's an amazing album, you know, for one that's like 2 hours long. It's a great copy, and I'm happy I invested my money into it because it's just a really good album. A space-themed album sleeve / song. I was going to pick Fear Inoculum, but I already talked about it in the video. So I went with this one. I went with Relay It by Yes. Now, the reason I picked this one is because I always thought it looked kind of ethereal and kind of spacey. Just, I guess because it looks kind of more like fantastical, I guess. I can't really provide an explanation. I just don't know why I think it's kind of spacey. It just is for me. A lot of the Roger Dean artwork is spacey for me, but I think this one probably the most for me. Show some VCLT or a present. So a record that you received as a gift. I have not received any VCLT because I don't trade records. I don't participate in this community enough to have received anything, but I can show you a present that I received, and I'm just going to show it now. Deftones' White Pony. I got this for Christmas last year from my family, and it is a fantastic record. It was the first one I came to mind when I thought of a present. So I'll pick that one. To finish this tag off, we have an album released in 1973, which is 50 years ago to the year. And I had a lot of album ideas to pick for this one, but I thought I'd go a little bit off into a different path. Maybe pick an album I haven't really spoken about that much on this channel. And I am, of course, talking about Aircut by Curved Air, which is one I've really been getting back into. It's probably one of the prog albums that I listened to a while ago that I've, you know, dug up again and really got back into. It's a fantastic and beautifully written album. If you haven't checked it out, definitely should. Although this is the prog community, you definitely know this group and you probably know the album as well. But it's got some really, really nice tracks on it, and that is my pick for 1973. And that concludes today's vinyl tag video. Let me know what you think. If you do this tag from this video, let me know and I will watch it and maybe comment on it, perhaps. And yeah, with this video, I really tried to have an album, like mix it up and not just have like one specific genre. I tried to mix it up a little bit. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.